Hungary's treatment of refugees and asylum seekers has reached a new low. This is one of 3 asylum detention centres, mostly young men but some families as well, locked up for months in conditions the European Court of Human Rights this week judged illegal.
It is a place where asylum seekers are being locked up just for being asylum seekers. People get very little information about their cases. There is a lack of proper translators in these facilities. There's a lack of contact with the outside world. I mean, people are being stripped off of their mobile phones, for instance, so they can't keep in contact with, family and loved ones.
They're being kept essentially like prisoners.
They are kept like prisoners. I would say that prisoners are kept in better ways often, because at least they have access to, visitors and that kind of stuff, which these guys don't.
We weren't allowed in, filming instead from the street outside the Bekescsaba facility, where many of the 102 people detained had ended a brief hunger strike a day earlier. We spoke instead to NGO workers with knowledge of the conditions inside. Maria BARNA is a clinical psychologist. She visits Bekescsaba every week and says up to 3/4 of those housed there suffer some form of mental distress.
I would say that there's the triad that we most often come across is that of post-traumatic symptoms, depression and anxiety symptoms. By the time they arrive to Hungary, they have been through months and months of pretty torturous journeys, being detained, being abused by smugglers, crossing, seas and whatnot. So they're extremely vulnerable, and detention, really what we see is that it harms even those who prior to that didn't have any, issues.
This is a drawing by one of Maria's worst affected patients, a 22-year-old Afghan man.
Tell me, where is the human rights? All Europeans are saying that it's a human right. It's not a human right. They are destroying our future. Why?
In recent days, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán gave his answer.
Our laws are obligatory for everyone, thus also for those migrants who want to cross the borders of Hungary illegally. That is the reality, which cannot be concealed behind charming human rights nonsense.
This government does not value human rights highly.
Another reason that these people are so agitated is that they know this country is perhaps days away from finalising a new law that will see asylum seekers and refugees put into 2 so-called transit camps, from which the only way out is backwards, across the border and out the way they came. In other words, they know that everything they have been through up to this point may soon have been in vain.
The police stopped us asking any questions outside the Bekescsaba detention facility.
But I just want to ask this man where he comes from.
We didn't really need to know how these people feel, locked up inside Europe, hopeless and bitterly disillusioned.
All right, well, Jonah joins us live now from SZEGED, that's on Hungary's border with Serbia. And roughly speaking, how many people are locked up in these conditions?
Well, Martine, that is a number which fluctuates. It goes up and down, of course, but there are 3 such facilities, Bekescsaba and 2 others. NGOs estimate a total capacity of around 700 people. These are people being held for unknown lengths of time. They don't know what is going to happen at the end of that process, and it is that aspect, among others, that makes this worse than standard imprisonment, because, of course, prisoners tend to have a release date, and they tend to know that at the end of the process they will be free. These people know nothing of the sort. Now, what does the government have to say about this? Well, you heard the words there of the Prime Minister, Mr. Orbán. He thinks human rights are a fanciful notion, nonsense, the word that is often used in English. Its Hungarian translation is a rather uglier piece of slang. The Hungarian government believes that it is doing Europe a service, reinforcing the outer borders of the passport-free Schengen zone along Hungary's southern border, and indeed Hungary is expanding its efforts, spending €1 billion building a huge fence there and 2 mass detention camps on the border when a new law is signed by the president, perhaps in a few days' time, where all of these people will go, and as I said, the only way out will be backwards. And it's doing these things, Martine, in contravention of established EU rules about the way asylum seekers and refugees should be treated, and those rules backed up, as I said, this week by a judgment of the European Court of Human Rights.
OK, Jonah, thank you for that. Jonah Hull there, live in Hungary.